Hello, good night everyone. Today we're gonna be doing another freestyle drawing stream. I was planning to make some gesture drawings, some gesture studies better saying, and making some armor painting because I was in the mood to paint some armor. I will start with the armor painting first and see if we get some energy for the gestural studies. Today's gonna be a more low energy live. I hope you guys don't mind. And today we have another song playing on the Free Riot's music. It's called Afternoon Tea, if I'm not mistaken. And on the corner of the screen, you guys will be able to see my reference I'm using for the armor paintings. I will be honest, I don't know if the goal is to make them as realistic as possible or just studying textures and metal reflections. Let's see how it goes. So the first one I'm gonna start drawing is by Jean-Michel Bihoret. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce their name, but it's called Sire Ginkgo, and it's a futuristic medieval style art for a ginkgo leaf based helmet. I'll be doing some small comments while doing the drawings, and feel free to ask any questions during the live. Well, at first, we need to block out the first and bigger shapes of the helmet, and then we can keep going and refining each more and more. I will not focus on the gibbon itself and more on the helmet, since it's more armor study night. Gonna start blocking with the lasso tool with a very light gray. And then we can go refining the piece later for actual brushes. Blocking those parts is very interesting because that way we can have some geometrical understanding of what are we doing. It's important to notice that our first blockage of shapes are not gonna have answer values, because the way I'm doing using the lasso tool, ideally I would be doing with many colors to already understand the divisions of the leaves and stuff, but honestly I want to challenge myself in doing in a simpler way. Important notes about their design, is that the ginkgo flower has very prominent veins on the leaves. I'm gonna block the entire piece here to make a uniform shape, so we can understand better what we are working with. There's no correct method on what I'm doing here. I'm not a specialist in any case to drawing armors. I'm just here to have a good time, honestly. I'm gonna work with bigger scale, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to change the size of our canvas. I hope that does not crash my PC on the process. I will draw in the center of the screen on the paper and move it later. We have the benefit of doing digital art here, so we have more freedom on what are we doing here. Like for instance, I said I wasn't gonna draw the gibbon, but I at least want to give some shape to it so we can understand better the armor. Can merge those. We have our basic shape here. And I think we can see the vision behind this project. Just a second. We can understand the basic of the shape, as I was saying. I see a lot of people usually doing that with the brushes already, that part of the blocking. I like to use the lasso tool to have some degree in learning it. I think it's a very useful tool. And since I work with texture afterwards, I think that's not a problem. One good thing that we can always learn about those drawings. Sorry. One good thing we can learn about, as a matter of fact, a good way to learn some stuff, especially regarding painting, is at first avoiding using too much the color picker. In Clip Studio you can swap it for a square or a triangle. A lot of people prefer the square. I like the triangle. It's a personal preference. But the important thing here is to try and pick the color you want without using the color picker. And it might look like a very hard thing to do, but it takes practice. One thing you can go and do if you have time for doing some more game-ish thing, you can go to this website here called diode.gg, and I like to play in the hard mode. And basically it shows some swatches for a few seconds. We got a purplish color, so it needs to match the color we saw it. And of course it's not gonna be perfect at first, Um, and don't frustrate yourself by doing it, so it's a learning experience. You can take this moment to understand better brightness, saturation, the hue values, and how they affect the color. And then you got a score from 0 to 10. And some funny phrases along the way, so you can keep motivated. We got a 9.21. We messed up on the brightness and the saturation a bit, and the hue, but it was very close to the color. And they do 5, and then they get the okay, we got a very thin purple color here. And after the 5 ones, you're gonna get a medium value rate. I messed a lot on this one, and we can see here, even though it was a higher note, we can see that I messed more on the hue value. The saturation and the brightness were very close, but the hue value was the biggest difference. The hue value is basically the color itself. The saturation is how vibrant or muddy it's gonna be, and the brightness is how dark and light it's gonna be. We got a green tone this time. And as I said, don't push yourself too hard if you don't get those at first. It's a game. It's basically swatches online you are trying to match. And that actually helps to understand better how to create the colors you want. Let's say you want to create a bluish tone, but you want to make it muddier or not. And I got distracted and I didn't look at the color. According to the VOD I have open here in a second screen, it was a Turkish tone. I'm probably gonna get it wrong. That's enough. And for the last, we got more lead color blue. It lacked a bit of green, I believe. It's okay. Almost got a 50. But yeah, that's an interesting way you can use to check your accuracy on choosing colors. That way you can easily learn how to choose the colors you want, because the color picker, we have something problem. Unless we were working to get the colors in your screen, but if we're getting from a photo, we have distortion, compression, filters. So usually it's gonna end up looking weird or even muddier. Well, now we're gonna get a few darker tones here to complement our Ginkgo's soldier here, and some white, brighter tones. I'm gonna start with the brighter ones. Again, using the lasso tool. So I can... The goal is not to do it perfectly now. We need to understand the form better, in a way that we can later refine it. Essentially, everything we see is made by geometrical simplifications. It's not that easy to describe it, of course, but it's a refinement process, basically. We go from a square to a rectangle, and then we can go from let's say we can go from a circle to an oval shape, and then from that we can make a head and etc. Even though art is something you make with your soul, you need a lot of brain to it, or at least to understand properly what are you doing in the technical side of things. I hope everyone had a good Easter. I ate some chocolates, worked with Linux. It's a ginkgo flower helmet, Lucius. The creator of this piece is Jean-Michel Bihorel, and it's called Sire Ginkgo, from the ginkgo flowers. Before the stream, I gathered some, as you can see on the corner of the stream, I gathered some reference I want to paint. I don't believe we're gonna be able to do all of those this stream, but I personally wanted to start with the ginkgo flower one. It's been sitting in my reference folder for quite a while, and I needed to... It's very unique indeed. I needed to do a check to see if it was not AI generated. It wasn't. It was a pleasure to see. As an artist as well, since we talk about references, the software on the corner of my screen is called PureRef, and I've been using it for more than 7 years. 7 to 8 years now. It's very useful to gather references and images and make mood boards and stuff without getting too heavy on your PC. And the last updates were very good, very quality of life-ish. So, as an artist, it's important to have references. Even human creativity has limits. So you need to consume a reference to be a creative person. Everything you see, you find interesting, save it. If it's a journal, cut it and save it for you. If it's in a letterbox, save the link. It's important to have our own database of things we like, to motivate ourselves and know what to draw, gather inspiration. Again, the goal of these studies is not to make the most realistic. Pinterest is a very good source. Nowadays it has a lot of it has a setting that you can block AI generated stuff, although it's not the best still, so I end up needing to do a double check. I use a platform that's basically Pinterest called Cosmos, but they have a better curation of what they put there. It doesn't have the most images you would find in Pinterest. It is a good brief. It's a good moment you can see for other stuff against the algorithm. It has some AI stuff, but only this. But it's way more obviously when it is. And it's important to gather references for outside of your sphere. Like, I consume a lot of fashion stuff, sculptures and architectural. Everything can become a reference if you're willing to understand. Old books too. I like gathering references from old books because that way we can find better references pre-AI era. And I like to save it all to have future references. Now we're going to start working with textures. And now I'm going to use the color picker to make good gradients. It's basically ASMR. Caramel dancing playing the other. But yeah, like an artist, it's important to have multiple references. In 1922, in Brazil, sorry, not 1922, 1929, we have the modernist event about modern art here in Brazil. And also de Andrade made a manifesto called the Anthropophagic Manifesto. That talks about basically it's an artistic manifesto based on anthropological discoveries. One of our native people, one of the tribes, had the habit of consuming human flesh, but in a way that it was only the most honorable warriors or wisest people, and they would do that in the belief that they would consume their strength too as well, eating a brave warrior's heart to gain his courage, basically. And based off that, Oswald's talked about how we need to do that with culture and art, but not in a violent way, of course. But we need to gather what's good, what's bad, and consume the good things from cultures. So if I see good things about Russian literature or Russian classics, I'm gonna consume it and add it to my my knowledge, so I can use on my own pieces. That's art, basically. From time to time we need to do that. Learn new things and consume it to make it more things better. It's a respectful thing to do. As well, it's a way to improve ourselves and not put ourselves in a bubble. So each reference, good ones actually, you need to consume them to make more clear what you have in mind for your stuff. I am ignoring a bit of reference, doing the shinies. I need to focus a bit more on that. I'm gonna work with a bit of pink color just to give some tonal difference. so that way we don't have a flat piece. Of course, that is more important. It's more important the lighting we are having the ambient before doing that. Our picture has very white light, so we don't have much tonal variation. And especially with metals like armors, we need to keep in mind that they are very shiny. Usually shiny. Of course you can have some that are rough here, textured, or not smooth at all. And we have references with that, so we're gonna work with them. I'm using a Sebege free brush set you can find on her Patreon. She is an awesome artist that works a lot with textures and a big inspiration of mine. Because she basically works with what I like in art. That's the textures, the dirtiness of the texture, and how that affects the piece itself. And her brushes are very complete, even for a free brush set. So if you're looking for brushes that have amazing texture, go to her channel. She has a lot of speed paints too, and they are very calm to watch. I'm working with only one layer, those pieces, to make it simpler, of course. But if needed, we're gonna go with more layers. But currently, we're gonna go with only one for each helmet, of course, so I can move them easily. Digital art and sculpture, or art in general, painting, all that stuff, has a lot in common with sculpture. We're basically carving the shapes here, getting from a muddy texture, a muddy blob if you prefer, and carving shapes so we can understand better what's happening here, and creating the visual information we are aiming to. I personally like a lot this piece, the Ginkgo armor, although I can see there's no place for the eyes, unfortunately. So it's not quite usable, it's more artistic ointment. But it is still very cool. Metalworking is probably one of the most complex forms of art in my opinion, but the results are always very interesting. One thing that digital art, and not only the digital art, but the style I make my art, made me learn through the hardest way, was to trust in the process. Because right now it looks very muddy, and you can even say it looks very ugly, because we are still working with very rough textures and details. But soon it's gonna look better. I worked it for a few months only with charcoal, And not even charcoal pens, the charcoal itself for my drawings. Helped a lot to learn the values, but majorly the patience to work with it, the hand pressure you can apply, and a lot of frustration from smudging wrongly or the coal itself breaking it. But it was a good lesson. It was good times. It's been probably 5 years I don't work with coal. I still have it here though. I don't only have the... I forgot the name. The oily finisher you need to put on the piece so it doesn't smudge anymore. A good book about what I was talking about references to is one I've been meaning to buy it because I would like to have it physical. It's called Still Like an Artist, and it has some new books from the same author about algorithm and social media. But basically the book talks about how you learn and use references in your projects. The quote-unquote right way to do it. The good artist is not the one that can create from nothing. It's the one who can create from something. I'm not sure if you guys watched Twin Peaks from David Lynch. It's a very good series, and it draws a lot of inspiration from classical and modern paintings, especially for the composition, the scenes, most unsettling ones. David Lynch died a few years ago, I believe last year, but his legacy is very interesting. Until today, one of the most disturbing movies I watched was Eraserhead and Blue Velvet. Elephant Man is another good one. If you're willing to give a try, you guys should watch it. Some surrealistic movies. It's not usual, it's not in our repertoire, but they're quite interesting to watch. There's one called Exterminating Angel, if I'm not mistaken. I know that I don't need Portuguese. And it's about a house where a lot of guests from a bourgeois elite come to have dinner, and every single employee of the house is feeling very anxious and acting weird. And by doing so, it creates an atmosphere where we start feeling anxious. And eventually the chef who was responsible for cooking says that he's done and he needs to leave before something happens. So he finished the food and leaves, and one by one the employees go too. Only staying the concierge from the house, which was by the aristocratic elite the only employee that could be on the same place are the boss and the important people. Only him and the Borgoids people stay. And eventually we start noticing something weird happening when they can't leave the room. And not enough, oh, they are locked. No, the doors are open. But every time they try to leave, something happens. So they go, oh, I need to do something. But first, let's talk about it, and then about the other thing. So they can't actually leave the room. And when they start noticing that, eventually the police arrive and they can't enter the house. So it creates a mood of stuck people in a place where they are not actually stuck, physically speaking. And they start needing like making holes in the walls so they can drink water from the pipes and stuff like that. And the movie is a surrealist movie, so you need to be aware that you might not understand the ending. And the ending might not make sense at all. But it's a worth experience, if you ask me. And most of those films are in public domain already, so you can find them on the Internet Archive. And we are reaching somewhere with the drawing here. It's interesting how this piece, the ginkgo, the sire ginkgo, even though it's metal plate armor, it's still very it gives me a very cyberpunk vibes or stuff like that. There's a scene in the middle of the face here that absorbs light and makes it darker. It's not actually a line art, of course, but it helps us to understand better the form of what are we drawing. Again, we're not aiming for an ultra-realistic portrait of the armor. We are aiming for light and shadows and reflections studies. Need to have a good time talking. Another movie that some people call surrealistic, I don't have knowledge to debate that properly, to go and contradict it, is a Russian, actually the Soviet movie, made by Andrei Tarkovsky called Stalker. And you're probably going to type now and say, hey, that's the name of a game. It's the inspiration for the game, as a matter of fact. But it's not the original concept by itself. The concept for this movie comes from a book that I don't recall the name now, but it's basically a very interesting sci-fi concept where aliens travel to Earth to have a picnic, and they left. And as everyone makes a picnic, you leave some stuff behind. Foods, packages, even personal stuff sometimes. So the novel plays with the idea of when the aliens left, they left something on Earth that alters the reality for us. I didn't read the novel, but the stalker talks about a guy who's this stalker that brings people to the zone, and in this zone is said to have to exist a room that can fulfill any wish you have. And then we follow that stalker, a professor and a writer, who decide to contract this stalker to go and bring them to the zone. And the zone has a set of weird rules you need to follow. And the passage of time, even the space, the physical space bends in that place. So you go in a door and then comes back from where you came from. And that alters their realities. And we see the conflicts that those three men have crossing through the zone. Because it's said that no stalker can enter the room. And every character acts in a very weird way. So you watch the movie with very confused mindset. But it's a very good movie for willing to try pre-Stalin cinema. The Soviet cinema before the Soviet realism made by Stalin is very interesting because it was very experimental. Sergei Eisenstein, Andrei Tarkovsky, all of them had very interesting ideas. Unfortunately, Stalker was one of the last movies from Tarkovsky, because it's believed that where they recorded the movie was like old fabrics and stuff, and they got poisoned by heavy metals. He ended up dying with cancer, as his wife too. And most of the actors developed some sort of cancer, unfortunately. Which brings an interesting parallel to United States cinema. We have a movie with John Wayne called, I believe it's called The Conqueror, where, mind that this movie was made in the 60s, so it was okay, quote unquote, for a white guy play as Genghis Khan. It's not a bad movie, but it's a movie from his time. And the movie was recorded in Utah, if I'm not mistaken. Right in a place where they made nuclear tests with atomic bombs. So John Wayne himself and most of the crew developed cancer. Which is very unfortunate. That is weird, but we can talk about how not every single experience, there are like very few individual experiences in the world. when you are working with references, if your goal is to make it very close to the reference, you need to pay attention to the reference. I think I'm not quite doing it right, to be honest. But it's okay. I just want to paint. Draw some metal. When painting without lines, at least contour lines, it's important to understand how the light and the color affect your lines. Since it's a reflective surface, the edges of where the light reflects is gonna be lighter. There's no discuss about that. So you can bend the lighting in a way you can create the proper effect of a quote-unquote contour. The good thing about digital art is that I can always undo stuff I did. I can adjust it. I can, like, let's say I want to make this helmet now, I don't know, have a filter of I don't know, let's say I want to add artistic effect to make more graphic. I can. You see, it's generating contour lines based on what we did. Some people will say that's cheating, but we are working with tools that are creative tools still. You can always play with what you are doing, especially in digital art. And if you are tired of a drawing, you can stop it and come back whenever you want. Of course, you need to still have the file for it, but you can work on it whenever you want, whenever you wish, and however you like. Of course, there's ways to do that in other traditional art medias, but the digital has some advantages on that. I can easily go and just, let's say, I don't know, turn on the puppet warp and distort however I want this drawing. Those tools is interesting to learn it. Working with big textures, with bigger pieces, you can allow yourself to use bigger textures and bigger brushes. You need to have some understanding that if you do a bigger brush, you can lag your Clip Studio Paint. But that happens mostly with Photoshop imported brushes. We are actually responsible for that. If you download from Clip Studio actually, you rarely are gonna deal with this problem. I have some brushes that can make them very big. When doing digital art, it's very tempting to make the biggest zoom you can for making details. Don't do that. Unless it's a piece that requires it. Otherwise, you're gonna end up like wasting a lot of time doing things you are not even gonna see it, or it aren't gonna look as you wish because of the size you are working on. Trying to see a bigger panorama of stuff is good, even for life. Advice. I hope you guys are enjoying the lo-fi. I know it's only one song looped. I plan to get better playlists. I like the classical music, don't get me wrong. But I understand too that's not for everyone. And needing to change every single time it annoys me a bit. The ginkgo helmet closes here. I like that this helmet's not symmetrical. Gives more personality, especially considering it's based on the flower, on the leaves. Clip Studio has a erasing brush, you can call that, but it's actually a no color, where you can use your textures to make it, so you don't need erase and then go with other texture or use white on top of it. It makes it easier to make corrections. Oops. It makes it easier to make corrections in your drawing without needing to use an actual eraser if you want to keep texture or better control of it, or if you challenge yourself by not using erasers whatsoever. Again, the goal is not a perfect replica of the armor. It's the learning experience and the study itself. Eventually you're gonna make copy-oriented streams where I plan to get some masterpieces and recreate it. No tracing, no overlapping, just trying to recreate it the best I can. Of course, I maybe use some my style and newer techniques, but it's for the experiment and the content. And by masterpieces, I'd say Mona Lisa, some romance paintings, Goya, Botticelli, Raffaello, all those painters, and even modern ones. Some woman painters from the Renaissance that we are usually forget because they were erased from history, and recently we can know their paintings. Frida Kahlo, a bit more modern, but not so much. um, Anita Malfatti. We have a lot of painters to learn from. Mogliani, Giorno Mogliani, Van Gogh, obviously, or Van Gogh. Da Vinci, many artists. Johannes Vermeer, Jackson Pollock for more modernist stuff. Michelangelo, well, he has some paintings, although he hated painting, and I do not have at my disposal marble blocks. I'm sorry to make sculptures like him, but I can make paintings of his sculptures. Related to history of art, the video about the Stone Age art is gonna come soon. I finished writing the first part script. I'm sorry it's taking longer than expected. I had some problems in the way, and I'm doing a very full research so I don't get anything wrong from the learnings from the caves. As well, I'm trying to work in a way that I can value how can I put that? Other continents' art as well. Often we talk only about like European, North American caves for prehistoric art, but it is important to remember that the cradle of civilization, the cradle of humanity is Africa. So as a respect point, I want to go and say, hey, we had those discoveries in this continent, we have those discoveries in this country, and give the proper and deserved value to a very renegated country, and of course continent, better saying. And it's interesting because it's been proven to be quite hard to find newer studies about African history, at least where I'm looking on. When I research about caves with prehistorical paintings, the most recent file I found at first was from 50 years ago. And I refuse to believe that people are not studying the continent and the importance for it. So I need to dig more for my references. I've been thinking about making community posts about art too, to complement, like small trivia and small analysis of paintings with some story involved, to create a other type of content too. Um, I just need to take it easy too, as I am the one who makes everything on this channel. From the thumbnails, the streams of course, as well I'm speaking here. The shorts that are edited from the lives, the clips that are saying. The research for the videos and the future edition. And the process of making the videos, it's all made by myself. So it takes a bit longer. I'm no editor myself. I'm learning all those things on the fly. It's been quite a fun experience to make it, and it creates a routine, which is kind of hard for me, but I need to adapt it to, or some particular reasons related to. But we keep going. In AI times and very green ambience. In that moment we live, it's important to keep studying and keep our brains, and not lost the few independence we have. People can take off a lot of things from us. But knowledge, I always believe that is only ours to keep it. Many nomad tribes learned that. The first Jew tribes, the Muslims learned about that. Knowledge is important, and we always need to be seeking knowledge. And speak of knowledge and Muslims, a new anime is gonna be released this year. Jabudar, the Witch of the West, if I'm not mistaken. The Witch of something. Let me take a look. Just a second. I'm trying to find it here. Oh, sorry, it's the Witch in the Mongolia. So if I'm not mistaken, Mongolia. A Witch's Life in Mongol. Jadugar is the name of it. And it talks about a Muslim girl who ends up near Genghis Khan court. It's very interesting. It has very unique art style. I'm very interested in watching it. I might even do some analysis shorts about it, just to have someone to talk about it. We're lapidating our little helmet here. I know it's not looking as the picture. It's way smoother. We're gonna go to that point yet. But important now is trust the process. When I'm doing those studies to occupy my smooth brain, I like to imagine situations and stories for that here. Who is this sire? Why the Ginkgo team? What's the story behind it? And I don't talk about like, oh, the author wanted to make it and therefore he made it. I talk in a more world building, or at least lore creation, to go and like, what's the story behind it? What's the world it lives on? How does it work? As I said earlier at the start of the live, I'm not gonna be focusing on the gibbon because I want to work on the armors themselves. I don't know. I want to focus on the armor. I'm gonna like give the bare minimum to give some context, of course, to it. Not just a floating beige color. But I'm not gonna spend the same time and the same work on it as the metal parts. Let's bring a soft brush here to make smoother surface. Or at least smoother transitions. As I said, metal can be either rough or very smooth. And you need to measure how to make it the way you want. Soft brushes are very useful for that. And you can always bring it textured again. Personally, I'd like more textured piece, rough finishing and stuff. Oh, we passed the 1 hour of string already. And we did only one piece. I need to get faster on those studies. I want to make at least more than one tonight. I mean, I can string for more hours. I will need to do a break eventually, but it's not the end of the work, and it's gonna be a fast one. Please remember to save our projects when working on it. One of the last streams, my Clip Studio crashed and I lost the sketch of the piece I was working on. I always wanted to work with concept art for some project, like a game or animation series, or even anything. I applied for, I know it's silly, I applied for Death Stranding animated series studio. They were needing animators and background artists. Of course it didn't work out, but I tried. I'm not sure if everyone here is aware, but I'm very I'm a big Kojima fan. His work for me is it is still to be born someone that can make something like he did on the start of video games. Of course, Metal Gear have a lot of silly moments. But it was very important for the games industry. Plus, I think it has a good balance between the silliness and the serious moments. Like Metal Gear 3, and be careful with the spoilers. When Volgin finds out that we're not in right card by groping us. Even it's a comical scene, it has a lot of tension to it. And that requires a lot of very good direction to not just become a silly moment. I think we're done for this one. I'm gonna make some details for the keep on. Said I wouldn't make much, but I need to make some at least, of course. Wouldn't be me if I didn't. Another good thing of the digital art is that you don't need to buy a bigger brush when you need a bigger brush, you just scale it. Make it very simple here. I don't want to spend much time on that, on the clothing. We're gonna have proper of studies eventually. I'm just adding some cool stuff I have here without much description, of course, but just complete it a bit. Doesn't hurt. It didn't look too good at the end. I might remove it. Let's focus on the helmet. I know, it's not perfect, but it's done. I shall go to smaller pieces. There's one I want to work on, and more you guys can see it. I personally like Ornstein armor a lot. From softer armors in general are very interesting. But let's make another helmet. I think we can go with the frog mouth. It has an interesting shape. I mean, I believe it does. So once again, we start blocking shapes. And with the shape that's blocking, we can go for our textures. The flat mouth helmet was very good to deflect arrows, and even though it looks very hard to see with it, I saw some people putting like cameras inside to see how it was to use one of those. It's surprisingly clear, the vision. Of course, it's not the best one, far from that. But in medieval times, when we would be using one of those, we just wanted protection, and we would go swinging around your weapons. That's a way lighter color version we're working on. So a lot of the basic shape is gonna change. Don't worry much on doing changes in your projects. If you're aiming for a good result, those changes are unavoidable, usually. And that's not a bad thing. Drawing is always a process of many things. Oh, I did something. Our next game stream is gonna be Vampire again, because I'm quite enjoying the game and I played very few last time because I was EP. But our other the stream after the Vampire one, we're gonna be playing Sekiro for the first time in my setup here. I never finished Sekiro. Never finished Sekiro. I played once in a friend's rig, but his keyboard and mouse were very different from mine, so I struggled a lot with it. So it's gonna be a first playthrough. I know more or less about this history, of course, but I don't know every single boss or anything that will spoil the game. Different from the Dark Souls ones or Lies of P, where I know the story already and stuff. My back. So playing Sekiro is gonna be fun. I hope. That's a faster start than the mushroom, the ginkgo one. It's interesting to notice that this one has a bit of rust on it. That's one of the reasons we don't have many medieval swords preserved. At least not the ones that are not important, of course, like the French caliber that was stolen a few years ago. Quote unquote French caliber, of course. Most of those weapons were melted to make other stuff. This time you see you don't want a sword, you want a fucking scythe or anything like that. Which is different from the Eastern views on swords, at least Japan. China a bit too. The sword is like a family relic, so you need to take care of it. In Europe, the sword of kings and lords, of course, would be preserved, but a peasant sword, quite difficult. Quite unusual, to say the least. There are some cases where swords are preserved. We have allegedly the William Wallace sword, which is a ginormous Y-hander. And stuff like that. But of course it has a mythological component to it, so we need to be aware of that. Makes it worse? No. Makes it better? Yes. At least makes it more interesting. Discuss. Like the Excalibur itself, given by the Fair Lady to King Arthur. But you would go and say, no, Arthur pulled the Excalibur from the rock and then become king. Yes. But later on, during a dispute with one of his soldiers, Excalibur is broken and tossed in the lake. And the fair maiden picks up the sword and gives back to Arthur as a gesture of his kingdom and stuff like that. The Brooms of Avalon is a very good book if you want to read it. Another book that's very not book, sorry. Another book that's quite interesting. It's not a book, it's a movie from A24 called The Green Knight. That's based on Sir Gawain adventures after he leaves the Round Table Code. And surprisingly enough, during the pandemic, the director remade the movie, the cuts of the movie, without the Astonists going like, oh, you need to do that. And the guy even put a new VFX on the movie, for the giants and stuff. I'm not sure if he could release that though. Maybe a director's cut. But yeah, Sir Gawain has very interesting stories too. Every night, Lancelot a very good friend, and so on. Classical literature is interesting. I mean, it's classic for some reason. For me, the definition of a classic book or movie is when you can find modern values or meanings on an old piece. That sounds like kind of corny, but when I read Crime and Punishment, I could very much see a modern situation there. Like, it's very understandable what's happening for Raskolnikov. If you read Count of Mount Christ or Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Posthumous Memories of Brás Cubas, that's a Brazilian book. Dreams of a Summer Night from Shakespeare. Paradise Lost in Paradise Reigned by Milton. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Moby Dick by Chaboté. All of those are very still modern stuff. Not modern stuff, of course, but they dialogue with the modern times. That's what I'm meaning to say. Dune from Frank Herbert is a classic too as well. Lord of the Rings, of course. I might be suspicious on this one, but it's a classic. Don Quixote. All those books have like interesting things to say. I can confidently say I'm chasing windmills thinking they are dragons in my current point of life. I reject reality and build my own. I'm yapping too much. Basically Lap's helmet. It was kinda hard to find the reference I was meaning for it. It's kinda silly, but I was looking your month, your type of medieval helmet, but I couldn't find a single picture that had a good resolution. I need to kill Midir in my most recent Dark Souls 3 playthrough still. I should say this is enough for the 4G helmet. I think we can do 4 drawings and call it the night. I know it's not ideal, but it's something. Oh, if to do one of those, it would take a lot of time. Let's go with a black and golden armor. That's something modern moves yet to learn about armor. Rich people would make a lot of shit. So it wouldn't be unusual to have armor like that. Of course, it wouldn't be used at battle and stuff, but we have those still, right? Like, especially because they weren't used in battle, therefore they were preserved. And every single frog helmet, armor says, yes, Calonia, welcome to the stream. We're doing the initial goal was to make some gesture drawings and then go to the armors, but I was feeling a bit meh, so I went straight up to the armor drawings. Yes, Lucius, both were fence designs. It's a status power. You can call it a soft power even. No, it wouldn't be considered soft power. Anyway, but none of those movies, those historical movies, shows that. They only show the annoying ones, or the older ones, or the boring ones, and without color, because no historical movie is allowed to have color apparently. Once again, blocking basic colors so I can work with something. Another game besides Sekiro I have for the stream. I managed to I think I'm gonna be able to stream Demon's Souls, the original one. And again, it's gonna be a first time playthrough. I know the endings and stuff. My beloved Made in Black. But it's gonna be a first time playthrough as well. I'm just taking a look into make the graphics more bearable for modern days, or at least like stable. That's brownish. And back to goldish, quote unquote. As an initial block, that here is quite okay. Interesting to note that this armor has a little hook, so you wouldn't open the view part when not wanted. Quite interesting detail. Well, now that we have a basic blocking of the colors, we shall start adding my beloved texture. I mean, it's not as fast as by any means, but I like a lot. You were talking about Demon's Souls or Sekiro? Wait, my fan got stuck. Turn it off. Bloodborne is still my favorite from Software, to be honest. I did a recent playthrough, it was very fun. It was the first time I played Old Hunters as well. Biggest thing I'm gonna need to adapt is the slower pace of Demon's Souls, probably. That's one of the reasons I don't play much of Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2. Oh, okay, the net delay is something. Speaking of the internet, the Shade PS4 emulation for Bloodborne is working with good results on the online. I didn't use it on my playthrough, but a lot of people are being able to invade others and stuff like that. It's working very nice. Would you guys be interested in videos about game design analysis? Like, oh, well, we're gonna analyze today the Boletaria design from the original Demon Souls, or we're gonna analyze Dark Souls 3 83 design, what's about, what's the points of it, or even the entire game in general. Be nice to watch, not gonna lie. I always love it, making analysis of game design, art design. Might be something I can work on too, especially because it's in my interest. And I mean, not using that as an excuse to get more art books in my collection. I definitely not have every single Metal Gear art book in a drive safe. Gathered from ethical sources. I'll keep the idea in mind. It'd be cool. ASMR yapping about medieval armors. Hello, Blackie. Good to see you. A tip from a fellow hunter: extra shine hand about armor, make darker the borders and glow in the middles, make a very good highlight impression. Yes, that's actually that's a good type. I was talking about that earlier on the stream. The goal is not to make the most realistic copy of the images. It's more about like studying forms and reflection, especially related to the ginkgo helmet. Why make helmets? Just for fun. I wasn't very sure about making an entire illustration tonight, so I worked with more. I gathered some references and decided to study them as warm-ups and stuff, and to build a proper quote-unquote portfolio, especially since I want to eventually work with concept arts. Why not make helmets? Good, I keep your space secret from heavy blows. I've been meaning to print. It's silly, I know. But I've been meaning to print like action pieces of armor to use in the daily basis. Not the entire armor, of course, because I don't have enough filament for that. But like armor pieces that can blend in with modern outfits. Just for fun. Keep refining it. I forgot to set to record the time lapse. Ah. Yes, I. And I forgot to set to record the stream too. I'm gonna cry. Jesus Christ, I forgot everything. Okay. We have a flower one, a frog mouth, a Maximilian type with pig face. Well, I was gonna come to this point. First, this one here is based on the ginkgo flower. It's a modern piece. And the last one I'm gonna do on stream today is gonna be this one here. As you guys can see on the corner of this stream. I'm gonna be working on ornamenting a helmet or some interpretation of it, of course. My skill level is way far from software concept artists. Tomorrow we might work on an actual piece of drawing. Or a game stream. What you guys would like to watch it tomorrow? We can do Vampire, we can play Sekiro and see me struggle with the tutorial bosses. We can do more art streams. I didn't work it in a schedule, but I decided the days I'm gonna be streaming. So Mondays, Thursdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'll call this one okay. Especially because we are invested 2 hours of Steam already. Well, it's time for the Lion Warrior. Leon Warrior. 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 Let's start by blocking basic shapes. Let's do something to help my life. There we go. Video. I don't know, I am a bit scared of feeling miserable doing the Ornstein helmet. Nah, I think I'm gonna go with the round helmet. It's gonna be better to make it. Yeah, I'm guessing I might need to. Let's hide the others. Work on the Ornstein one, and I rescale it later, so I can have proper canvas space for it. I will be right back in a moment. I must talk with my mom for a second. I'll be right back. I'm back. She was busy. I mean, he deserves a canvas for himself only. Not gonna lie. I'm back. The cement comes in handy. Yes, that was one of the reasons I migrated to start using Clip Studio. To be honest, the extra tools are very helpful. I could YOLO it and just like make by eye, but I doubt the result would be good. And especially with those symmetry armors, it's very helpful. I mean, you can, but I mean, it's reasonable. It's reasonable. Since we have the tool, we might as well use the tool, right? Oh, I forgot the detail here. I would say that Ornstein Armors is one of my favorites from the Souls franchise, but it loses only to one armor in my opinion. I mean, they're very good armors, but like design-wise, my favorite is Lucatius still. The only good thing from fucking Dark Souls 2. Okay, very fair. Farron's armor is indeed very good, but in Dark Souls 3 it doesn't have the horse head, therefore it's sad. I think that's the biggest thing, like almost all armors in Dark Souls are very like well made, even Dark Souls 2 ones. Quite controversial opinion, but I like the butterfly set as a design wise. I mean, too, that too. The DLCs for Dark Souls 2 are very good. And it kind of bummers me that I can't pass to the base game to go to the DLCs because the base game is terrible. I tried to play it again, I died like 12 times in 5 seconds. I was like, why? The game is slow, the game is ugly. Nah, the game is not ugly. But the game doesn't feel Souls. I don't quite understand how to explain it, but the Souls, quote-unquote, part of Dark Souls 2 is lacking. The design doesn't feel right. Like Dark Souls 2 having Lioning warriors and Oliphants and stuff like that, I look like, that's not Dark Souls. At least in a personal opinion. Where if I don't like the helmet though, the other parts are good. Yeah, the helmet's kind of bleh. Rather ew. It's interesting how with very few lines you can make a lot of details for the armor. I'm barely looking at the reference now, to be honest. Which is not the greatest idea, but considering it's a T-pose file from the game itself, and I want to make like my own version. Not my own version, but like my own study on it. It's doable. Doing that, do that. Why this helmet is a little sad chubby lion. Japanese sticker vibe could be my slugger coming to, I don't know. It feels a bit off. Maybe the eyes are working against me here. I'm gonna try fixing it, of course, but as I said, from software art, they're way other level than me. I wish I could like hide the cooler at least. I believe it's the lack of details. Oh, I know why looks chubby. That part. We need to give a bit of kneeling to him. It's a bit better, I hope. I could make a bet, or better saying a promise. When this channel reaches 100 subscribers, I will do an entire playthrough of Dark Souls 2. I'm not gonna platinum because I I refuse. But I'm gonna do 100%. No, not 100%. I'm gonna finish the game and play the DLCs. When we reach 100 subscribers on this channel. And I leave that registered here. It's gonna take a while to happen anyway. I can play Sekiro before. Dark Souls 2 remaster is gonna come before that. Yeah, any percent. Painful one, yes, indeed. But it's something I'm willing to do. Especially I don't know the entire playthrough for Dark Souls 2 is gonna be very like a lot of new things for content. Reminds me of a old painting, almost very nice. Thank you. One of my big regrets is not having learned how to do proper oil painting when I had the opportunity. I tried to emulate it on the painting style I use on digital art because I think it has a lot of value. Even though it's a bit messy, the information is being passed. So I believe it looks nice. Oh, wait, I have idea. What if I made the eyes whole, the eye sockets whole, like the armor is empty? So I just need to do a darker shade here. Like we are seeing the internal of the armor itself. shiny here. That was supposed to be a quick study. Time management and focus management that you're saying is something I still struggle with. Let's not make the eyes so clear, so it gives a bit of less detail in this area here, but I still need a bit of light to show the apple of the face. As if I nah, let's keep in the normal multiplier, but I can do something. Let's test something here. It's Ornstein from Dark Souls too. But I don't want that color one. The reddish, orangish one. Wow. Okay. With this effect, I could make it like copper, rusted. I think. Oh, wait. I just need to just detail more here. I think it's done for the helmet. Whoa, okay. 3 hours of stream. Jesus. Well. Oh, wait, I can do a composition here. There we go. The brain is too fast for the mouth. I was gonna say, I think we are done for tonight. We peaked at 6 viewers, and we finished 4 studies, with one being a more elaborated piece. One of the few fan arts I have from Soul series, as a matter of fact. So thank you everyone who could watch it. Tomorrow I'll decide if we're gonna do a vampire or Sekiro gameplay. Thank you for everyone who could watch it again, and good night.